everybody. How are y'all doing today? I'm having an okay day, I guess. But I just want to say first off, thank you for clicking on my video and just really hearing out, as far as my story, as far as having my journey as far as being pregnant. As the title can be a bit, I guess in a way, clickbait. Some people can say clickbait, misleading, whatever it is. But it is actually something that I didn't tell a lot of people about. Just for the simple fact that this is a very touchy subject for me, for my husband as well too. And to me, what other better way to tell my story, tell our journey, than on my channel, on my family vlog channel. So, if some of you do not know, around last year, I can't remember really what time frame around last year, but sometime in last year when I was carrying Solomon, I was high risk. The year before, in 2017, which explains why I was high risk carrying Solomon. In 2017, James and I were pregnant with our son, and his name is Isaac. And it was, I don't know, it was very surreal because prior to that year, we had lost a pregnancy and I was 8 weeks. So basically that was the start of it all. And in 2016, when I had my miscarriage at 8 weeks, and then the next year we found out that we were pregnant again, and James had named him Isaac. So, time's going along. He's working, I'm working. At that time, I was working at a dealership as a insurance broker. So, because back in the day, I used to have my insurance license for home and auto. I don't have it anymore because I just don't want to be in that industry anymore. But that's besides the point. So in 2017, we were pregnant with Isaac. On June 10th of 2017, I was about a little over 5 months pregnant. I was 22 weeks pregnant, to be exact. And I'll never forget this day. I remember being, at the time, we were living with family, so we were at a family member's house, and I remember not feeling well the night before. I had a headache, a real bad headache, and I just laid down, went to sleep. The next day, got up as usual, and I just started having these really excruciating pains. Keep in mind, this was my first real rodeo, carrying a child. So, to some people would be just how do you not know the difference between contractions, and how do you not know? Look, I didn't know. I ain't know nothing at all about when to expect it, how it's gonna feel. I don't know I didn't know anything. The only thing that I knew as far as contractions and labor and all of that is basically based on what everyone who had already had children, were telling me their experience. So, this is my first rodeo. I really don't know what to expect. All I know is that I was having these excruciating pains. Little did I know that I was actually going into labor, and these were contractions. So, if we back up a little bit more, I also had an issue that came about with my cervix because it started dilating. So, keep in mind, we had just started seeing a fetal medicine doctor in regards to my cervix, and that was the very first time that I heard about a stitch or a cerclage, which I have other videos about that too. Actually, a playlist of pregnancy called a pregnancy journey is where I talk about the stitch with that I had to get with Solomon. But with Isaac, that's when I first really heard about it. At first they were gonna try, to see if the shots would work, progesterone shots. I may be saying that wrong. I'm really not too sure. But sorry about that, y'all. My lighting or my dimming, or I don't know. I just look like ultra dark right now, so I was trying to fix it. So I'm sorry if I look a little dim to y'all, but I'm recording on my phone and the brightness is up, so I don't know. But anyways, I was talking about when they were talking about doing the shots. At first they were just going to do the shots and see how that went, and then if they weren't working, then we'll do the stitch. Basically, it was just like a trial and error type of thing. To basically make a long story short, I didn't get a chance to basically get the shots taken or started, and I didn't get the stitch because I went into labor at 22 weeks. I remember being in a lot of pain. My husband, at the time we had just got married, and it was the most scariest thing I had ever experienced in life, because James was asleep, so I woke him out of his sleep just like in pain, like excruciating pain. I couldn't even describe it to him how it felt. We rushed to the emergency room. We actually drove to the emergency room. And as soon as we pull up, I could barely move, so he got me into a wheelchair. Went into the emergency room, told him exactly what was going on, and then as soon as I got up to the maternity ward, my water broke, and just water went everywhere, and they rushed me into the nearest room, and nurses galore was coming into the room, and they were just everywhere. And I had one of the nurses had checked me and basically had told me in so many words like I was fully dilated and that he was coming. But all at the same time, I'm like, I'm only 22 weeks. Like, this is impossible. Like, he's not done cooking yet. Like, what are you talking about? And the next thing that I know, they were like, on your next contraction, you have to push. And y'all, like, keep in mind, everything happened so fast. So basically, I did everything with no medication, natural, all of that. So I was feeling like everything. And I had my son. It was one of the worst days of my life. I couldn't stop crying, and I just held him. He lived for almost 2 hours. Some of the nurses couldn't believe it, because normally, like, within minutes the baby passes, but he was fighting. So, by that time we had told our family what had happened, and everybody came up to the hospital. So, we're praying, and he finally passed. He had finally passed away, and I just remember, like, crying and just saying, what am I gonna do without my baby? What am I gonna do without my baby? And it's so surreal that one day you're pregnant and you're expecting your baby to be here, and you're doing all these things, baby showers and looking at baby stuff and shopping, and then something like this happens, and the next day your baby's gone and you're leaving the hospital, but you're supposed to be leaving the hospital with your baby, but you're not. And that was very traumatic for me. It was the most heartbreaking thing that I could ever possibly go through. I remember just feeling really depressed, really lost, not really knowing what I was gonna do, because I was just like, I couldn't believe it. And then, with me and my husband, like, this is something that we were just so excited about. I mean, just as, any other couple is, you're excited when you find out that you're first pregnant, you're gonna have, your child. So, it was very devastating for us. I'm gonna try to have my husband talk about his perspective of it too. He's very private. So, I mean, of course he supports me and my channel and things of that nature too, but I'm gonna see if I can get his perspective as well, because I think it would be good, not only just from the mother's perspective, but also from the father's perspective. So we go, after we're in the hospital for like about 2 days. It seemed longer than that. I'm really not too sure. We were there for a while, but not like forever. I had requested that Isaac stay in the room with us, because especially it was very traumatic. I was just, no. So even though he had passed, they put like clothes on him, wrapped him up in a blanket, had it in a basket, and I'm pretty sure we were in the hospital like for a day or two. So after it was our time to go, the nurses, they came in. They were so helpful, so very kind. One of the nurses actually had asked before we had left if she could pray with us, and I thought that was very sweet, because I have never seen or heard any other nurses do that, and she was the greatest. So before we left, she did pray for us and over us as well too, and so I thought that was very sweet of her. They did give us like a bag of his things, like his first diaper. It was the littlest thing ever. I still have it. His first diaper, the cap that they put on when the babies first come out, the receiving blanket that he was in. They made like these little chain bracelet things for us. I thought I had it with me, but it's in the house. That has his name on it, Isaac James. I have one, and James has one, and it's a little too small, so I just keep it on my keys. But they gave us that. We had a couple pictures. We did decide to get him cremated, and we still have him. He's like his what he's in, his urn, that is what he's in. It looks like a building block, and it has A, B, C, D, like the letters A through D on each side, and then on the top it has a blue teddy bear, and which also Solomon's middle name is his big brother's name, Isaac. So Solomon Isaac. It during the whole ordeal, it's, I mean, of course it doesn't get easy, because nobody ever expects to lose a child. So this year he would have been 2. If he would have lived, he would have been 2. His original due date was October of 2017, but he decided that he wanted to make his entrance June 10th of 2017. I was very hurt. I was very confused. I was wondering, like, why me? You know, how come, my body wasn't good enough or healthy enough to carry this baby? Like, what did I do? And after, of course, everyone from your loved ones to your spouse, of course it's not you. My doctors are like, it wasn't you. Sometimes it's just things that happen, and that took a while. It took a while for me to understand that things like this happen. Little did I know my mom went through the same thing about 25 years ago too. So, it was comforting, and to know that I wasn't alone. There's a lot of women that go through the same thing, and they just have a little trouble, but there is help to be able to have a very healthy full-term pregnancy. So, fast forward, after Isaac had been born, and I took the time to heal and just really grieve, really grieve. It took a while for me to not be able to cry without bringing the miscarriage up, or bringing my son up. It's just, my heart broke. My heart was broken. Simple as that, my heart was broken. And I just didn't know how to put the pieces back together, or what I should do, or how could I, we're just to start, basically. So I went through that. Went through, the healing process as far as your body, and, for it to heal. And later on that year, later on that year, I got the okay from my doctor if I was ready to try again. So, around that time, me and James, I had tried again. Trying, and no baby.